Looking back at previous NHL award winners, there's obviously a lot of big name players, superstars, Hockey Hall of Famers, future Hockey Hall of Famers. You guys get the point. Most of the time, these awards are won by players that are very well known and that are some of the best players in the entire league. But every so often, a player will win an award that you really did not expect whatsoever, and that's kind of what we're going to talk about in today's video. We are going to talk about the most random award winners in NHL history. Before we begin, make sure to go down there and drop a like on the video. Let's try and hit 800 likes. And of course, if you guys are new to the channel and you want to see more NHL content like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. And with all that being said, let's jump right into it. Beginning the video, let's talk about goaltender Jose Theodore, who along with the Vezina won the Hart Trophy as league's MVP in the 2001-2002 season, beating out the likes of Jerome McGinley, Marcus Naslund, and Patrick Waugh. Goaltenders winning the Hart Trophy is extremely rare. It's only happened 8 times in the history of the league, done by Roy Waters, Chuck Rayner, Al Rollins, Jacques Plante, Dominic Hasek twice, Jose Theodore, and Carey Price. That is a pretty exclusive list, so you would think that a lot of the top goaltenders in NHL history would have been the ones to win the Hart Trophy, and Jose Theodore isn't necessarily that. But his 01-02 season was so incredible that it's easy to see why he was given the Hart Trophy as league's MVP. A 30-24-10 record, a 2.11 goals against, and an amazing .931 save percentage, leading the Montreal Canadiens to the playoffs and also leading them to the second round, where they eventually fell to the Carolina Hurricanes. After winning the Hart Trophy, Theodore went on to have a couple more solid seasons with the Montreal Canadiens, but obviously was never able to replicate that Hart Trophy season. And after his stint in Montreal, Theodore spent time with the Colorado Avalanche, the Washington Capitals, the Minnesota Wild, before finishing out his career with the Florida Panthers. Moving along now, we have former NHL defenseman Barrett Jackman, who won the Calder Trophy as NHL's Rookie of the Year in the 2002-2003 season, beating out the likes of Henrik Zetterberg, who definitely should have won, and also beating out Rick Nash. Throughout his NHL career, for the most part, Barrett Jackman was known as a shutdown defenseman, a tough guy who's gonna stand up for the top players on his team, and not necessarily somebody that you would have expected to win the Calder Trophy over guys like Zetterberg and Nash. His Calder winning season, Jackman had 3 goals and 16 assists for 19 points, 190 penalty minutes, which is a career high for him, and a +23 rating. The numbers he put up in his rookie season kind of foreshadowed what he was going to do for the remainder of his career, always putting up similar numbers, a lot of penalty minutes, and usually being in that 15 to 20 point range. The most points he had in a single season was 27 in the 06-07 season. Nonetheless, Barrett Jackman did have a pretty solid NHL career, but when you're looking back through previous Calder Trophy winners, he is definitely a name that stands out and somebody that you really wouldn't have expected to win that award. Jackman played for the Blues from 2001 to 2015 before finishing out his career playing 1 year with the Nashville Predators in 2015-16. Moving along now, we have Bob Gainey, who won the Conn Smythe as playoffs MVP when the Montreal Canadiens won the 1979 Stanley Cup. And this isn't random in the sense that he wasn't a high-profile player, because he was. He had a very successful career, is now a member of the Hockey Hall of Fame, and has his number 23 retired by the Montreal Canadiens. Gainey is one of the best defensive forwards of all time. He won 4 straight Selke trophies from 1977 to 1981. The reason I'm saying it's kinda random that he won the Conn Smythe is the fact that this Montreal Canadiens team had so much talent. Guy Lafleur, who had 129 points in the 1978-79 season. Ken Dryden, who is one of the greatest goaltenders to ever play the game. Defenseman Larry Robinson, who put up some amazing offensive numbers. And just the fact that Bob Gainey was 10th on the entire Montreal Canadiens roster in scoring in the 1978-79 season. Just not really the guy you would have expected to win playoffs MVP. But in 16 playoff games, Gainey had 6 goals and 10 assists for 16 points, obviously on top of being an amazing defensive forward for the Montreal Canadiens. He really was a specialist and had an amazing career with Montreal that spanned from 1973 up until 1989, and after his playing career, he actually did have some success in a general manager role and in a head coaching role. Next up, we have former Capitals goaltender Jim Carrey, and no, it's not the Jim Carrey you're thinking about. This is a Jim Carrey that you actually may not have ever even heard of. The Jim Carrey we are talking about was a goaltender for the Washington Capitals from 1994 up until 1997, and as a sophomore actually won the Vezina Trophy as the league's best goaltender in 1995-96. Beating out the likes of Chris Osgood, Ron Hextall, and Martin Brodeur. Jim Carrey is widely regarded as one of the biggest one-year wonders in NHL history. His Vezina season had a record of 35-24-9, a 2.26 goals against, and a .906 save percentage. Definitely a very solid season, but the thing is, after winning that Vezina trophy, Jim Carrey only went on to play 73 more games throughout his NHL career, and from 1997 to 1999, spent most of his time in the American Hockey League. When going back and looking through previous Vezina Trophy winners, Jim Carrey is definitely a name that stands out because he didn't go on to have the NHL career that a lot of other Vezina Trophy winners did. After playing for the Capitals, Jim Carrey spent some time with the Boston Bruins before finishing out his NHL career with a brief stint in St. Louis. Steve Mason. You guys knew he was going to be in the video from the thumbnail. Mason won the Calder Trophy as NHL's Rookie of the Year in the 2008-9 season, beating out some pretty big name players like Drew Doughty, Steven Stamkos, Bobby Ryan, Blake Wheeler, Pekka Rinne, just to name a few. And it's not like Steve Mason shouldn't have won the Calder. He had a fantastic season, a 33-20-7 record, a 2.29 goals against, and a .916 save percentage. It's kinda just what happened after winning the Calder Trophy that was pretty disappointing. The next 4 seasons in Columbus after winning the Calder Trophy definitely weren't the greatest for Steve Mason, finishing with an above 3 goals against average 3 times and a save percentage below .900 twice. And then on April 3rd of 2013, Steve Mason was dealt to the Philadelphia Flyers in exchange for Michael Leighton and a 2015 third-round pick. And Steve Mason actually did have a couple of good years in Philadelphia. Definitely was better for them for the most part than he was in Columbus besides that rookie season. Steve Mason played for the Philadelphia Flyers from 2013 up until 2017. And fun fact about Mason, he's actually 3rd all-time in games played by a Philadelphia Flyers goaltender and 3rd all-time in wins with 104, only behind Ron Hextall and Bernie Perron. Not exactly somebody you would expect to be that high on their all-time leaderboard, but that really kind of puts into perspective how shaky their goaltending situation was for such a long time before Carter Hart came around. And the last we saw of Steve Mason was in the 2017-18 season when he played 13 games for the Winnipeg Jets. And the last player we're going to talk about, Jonathan Cheechoo, who won the Rocket Richard in the 05-06 season for leading the league in goals, beating out players like Jaromir Jagr, Ilya Kovalchuk, and Alexander Ovechkin, who were not too far behind him. Cheechoo is a really interesting case because he had a couple of really good years and then fell off a cliff. His Rocket Richard winning season, 56 goals, 37 assists for 93 points, to this day is still the only player in San Jose Sharks history to score 50 goals in a single season. Pretty random, right? And a lot of it can be attributed to him playing with one of the greatest playmakers of all time in Joe Thornton, who was traded to the San Jose Sharks a little bit into the 2005-06 season. Those guys had some instant chemistry and tore it up that year together. Unfortunately, after that, it was a pretty quick decline for Jonathan Cheechoo. The following season was still pretty solid, 37 goals and 69 points. The season after that, only 23 goals, and then the season after that, which would be his last in San Jose, just 12 goals in 66 games. The 2009-10 season was Jonathan Cheechoo's final year in the NHL. He played for the Ottawa Senators and scored 5 goals in 61 games. After that was pretty much playing in the American Hockey League up until 2013, where he would then move to the KHL, where he played up until 2017. Cheechoo had an absolute roller coaster of an NHL career, and when you go back and look at players that won the Rocket Richard for scoring most goals in a single season, he's definitely a name that sticks out like a sore thumb compared to all the other greats that have won that award. That is going to wrap up today's video. I really hope you guys all did enjoy. I had a lot of fun putting this one together, and make sure to let me know down in the comment section below any other players that I didn't feature in the video that have won a major NHL award that kind of blew you away. And with all that being said, make sure to go down there and drop a like on the video if you guys did enjoy. Let's try and hit 800 likes on this one. And as always, if you guys are new to the channel and you have not already, make sure to click that subscribe button for some more NHL content, and I will see you all next time.